These are the Warwick Acoustics APERIO headphones, and together with this, a DAC amp / energizer, we have the Warwick Acoustics APERIO all-in-one electrostatic headphone system. I made a video detailing my first impressions of this system. I received it around 10 days ago, and after a few hours I was able to have a pretty good idea of what it was doing to me in my music listening experience. Now, 10 days later, and with around 30 plus hours of music listening, I'd like to revisit that first video and share with you my impressions, attempting to be a little bit more systematic than I was the last time. I described my feelings and my reflections as being hysterically enthusiastic. That is still relevant as a summary of my feelings and relationship with the experience of the Warwick Acoustics APERIO system. However, I've had time to take notes, collect my thoughts, focus on the key areas that I personally find important to share, and that's what I will attempt to do now in as calm and systematic and clearer fashion as I'm able to. So, number one, these headphones, this system is without a doubt extremely adept and successful at extracting details from the recorded music. It's called detail retrieval, it's called resolution, it's called any number of things. However, what I think headphone users will all recognize is that when they're listening using headphones, they are aware of different levels, varying levels of detail retrieval. So usually what it means is that when someone is wowed by a headphone experience in terms of retrieval of details, they probably share something along the lines of, I've never heard this music quite in that way before, or I've heard that piece of music 20,000 times, and this time with these headphones and this setup, I'm hearing things that I hadn't heard before or noticed before. So detail retrieval is not exclusive to any one particular pair of headphones or one type of system, whether it's electrostatic or dynamic drivers or planar, etc. It is, however, something that can make quite an impression on someone when they experience it being done in an incredibly successful way. And that's what, for me, the APERIO clearly do. They are mind-blowing in the resolve, in the resolution that they achieve. And interestingly enough, the actual name that they've been given by Warwick Acoustics, APERIO, means in Latin revealing. And these were, for me, a revelation, without a doubt. And after 30 hours of listening to music, that impression has not ceased to impress me and dazzle me and give me great pleasure. So that's one aspect: detail retrieval, resolution in the stratosphere, cosmic in terms of these headphones. The other aspect that I personally always find interesting and a source of satisfaction, and an important aspect of the sonic experience when I'm listening to music on headphones, is the level of separation, the quality, the now I have to pause for thought here, the successful achievement of keeping all of the ingredients of the music I'm listening to separate and clearly visible in acoustic terms. And that can be the instruments that I can really clearly experience and appreciate each individual instrument, that I can experience each individual note or run of notes, if there's a great solo of some kind that I can really follow in precise, clear terms, and in a way that is exhilarating because it's delivered in such a clearly separated way. Separation. And that can work very well with detail retrieval, because if I'm actually experiencing not only a set of details that can include the feeling of a string being plucked on a guitar or on a double bass, and the vibration of the string is tangible, visceral, palpable. I hear the creak of the piano pedal, or the felt underneath the keys, and I'm not exaggerating. So with really great detail retrieval, that becomes a reality. And then when I can actually really perceive where that double bass is standing, or where that piano is, or where the keys are on that piano board, and it's coming into my ears via the headphones, and then we come probably to the soundstage issue. When I actually have a holographic experience, it's a three-dimensional sonic acoustic experience for me, things start to get very, very enjoyable and very, very exciting and interesting. And the Aperio system is doing that for me, and has been doing that for me, on a level and a scale which is definitely right up there. I haven't listened to a great deal of equipment. I have listened to a reasonable amount, but not a great deal. There'll be tens of DACs and amplifiers and headphones that I haven't experienced. But one thing for me is that I like anyway to experience the thing itself, not always about comparing it to something else, but what is it doing for me right now in and of itself. And that's why with the Aperio, in and of itself, in these three areas, the resolution, detail retrieval, the separation, and the imaging / soundstage, all of that working together is extraordinary. It's on a level which is kind of mind-blowing, because it's just so consistently brilliant. It's so consistently, wow, I see, that I've never heard it quite like that. And then on the other hand, after an hour, simply being lost in the beauty of listening to the music that we love. The other thing here is its linearity and its neutrality. So in tonal terms, neutral, neutral warm, neutral bright, blah, blah, blah. Most people who have spent some reasonable amount of time with an amp and a DAC and their headphones start to explore and find out what their own personal preference is. And it doesn't mean simply I'm a bass head, or I'm a treble head, or I just like things to be absolutely neutral and uncoloured. There are subtle differences and there is subjectivity. One thing that is clear is that there are reference approaches. So the idea of presenting a piece of recorded music as neutrally as possible without over-emphasising this or that frequency, this or that transient, is a reality. That there are reference areas where you say that's the optimal, ideal presentation, and then where we choose to diverge is a personal choice. These are incredibly linear, these headphones, this setup, and in its tonality, I would say, yeah, it's neutral, it's neutral. On the other hand, I would also say what my experience has been is that it's neutral bright, not neutral warm, but neutral bright. And I say that in the sense that there are certain pieces of music that I've experienced and I've gone back to just to verify this, and I find that in the 4 to 6K area there is more of a brightness than a non-brightness, and that sounds and it comes across, let's say, a criticism from my perspective that it's too bright, but I don't mean to share that I think it's too bright, but there's an enthusiasm in a certain frequency area with certain tracks. So not with all tracks that hit that frequency response area. Now, in terms of the frequency response, this is a fundamental area where how do we respond to, how do we experience and feel about the way that these pair of headphones deal with bass response. And bass response, we can say right down to the subterranean depths and right down to the sub bass, and then as it moves up towards the mids, so right from 20 to, you see, we start shooting out these numbers, and I'm working on understanding where certain frequencies, hertz, kilohertz, etc. lie. My ears tell me, my ears are actually reading music without giving them specific numbers of hertz and kilohertz. But we're going from the idea of how does bass sound with these headphones, a pair of headphones that we're listening to, and how does it sound when we're moving into the mids, and how does it sound when we're moving to the upper mids and into the brilliance and the presence to the treble and to the higher treble. And the thing is with the Aperio is, I would say they are absolutely outstanding throughout the frequency spectrum. So when we're talking about the bass and that we're listening to some music, and it could be an orchestral, it could be a chamber piece, it could be a piece of electronic music, it could be the bass guitar of a particular genre track. There's plenty of examples of deep bass response and deep bass music in all of the genres. But the experience that I've made and had in the last 10 days is this is a phenomenal piece of equipment. I say piece of equipment because it's not only the headphones that are managing this phenomenal management of bass, of deep bass. It's the headphones, it's the amplifier, energizer, it's the DAC design. You are truly in the presence of all of those low frequency bass notes, waves of synth, strings that are right down there. It's all hitting you on a very palpable, tangible, physical level. There's nothing thin or missing or lacking with these, which is remarkable, I hear, because the electrostatic system from whichever source and whatever level of investment made is challenged in that particular area, and I don't see the Aperio is in any way challenged. It actually takes it in its stride, and then as we move up through the bass regions and enter the mid territory, the level of fullness, the level, I don't want to use this word musicality because we're listening to music, so I sure as hell hope it has a musical feel, that it has a swing to it, that it has a beauty. Anyway, the whole mid area, I wouldn't say it's mid-centric, but it fully deals with everything that I've been listening to, and my playlists for the Aperio extend probably to 9 hours worth of music, and I've spent many hours going through actually all of it a few times, and there is nothing that doesn't sound short of beautiful, engaging, impactful, punchy when it needs to be punchy, quiet and delicate when it needs to be quiet and delicate. There are textures that one experiences. There are the most subtle moments that are not lost. Not one single subtle moment is lost. It can handle huge, massive, overwhelmingly rich and loud and complex and packed sounds, and it just takes everything in its stride. So in terms of the dynamics, it has all of the bases covered. What else have we got? Timbre. So timbre is this thing that is also referenced, and I guess what we want when we're listening to music, what we would like, is to actually have a feeling that the sound of the instruments really are authentic, that we feel we are listening to a piano, and maybe even to a particular kind of piano, and that when we're listening to a double bass's thickest string pluck, that it sounds like the thickest string on that double bass, and etc. So all of the instruments, percussion, wind, string instruments, that they sound like we believe that we understand they sound like when we've definitely heard them live, because that isn't a bad reference to have actually heard as much as possible live as a reference point. And this system, these Aperio headphones, have great timbre. Everything sounds... The word realistic is, for me, always a dangerous thing, because it's recorded. There's so much, let's say, intervention from sound recordists, from the players themselves, from the setup of the room, etc., etc. There's so much that's then been invested in recording that music, and then this piece of equipment, these headphones and DAC and amplifier, attempts to give us an experience that is as identical as is possible as if we were in the recording studio. I don't know really how the word "it sounds like the real thing," how convincing it is, but actually I have to use that, because it sounds... There are consistent moments where you lose yourself in the music because you don't really feel that you're listening to headphones that are inflecting the music in its own way, in their own way, or that the DAC is adding something, or that the amplifier is a very warm amplifier, or a very neutral amplifier. It's simply an experience of plug it in, put the headphones on, which have a great seal, and we are at one with the music. We are listening to the music truly as if we haven't got any equipment around us, which is really good, and which is an ultimate goal, I guess, in a developer's sound developer's mind. So what else is there to share? Staying calm and systematic. I've mentioned imaging, soundstage, timbre, dynamics, tonality. Tonality being a case of, and now I'm actually running out of words to define the experience, because the experience, if I think of tonality, I think again that I am gotta stop now because the door's just opened, so there'll be a noise outside, so I'll probably have to cut here and then return to this in a moment. So I took a break there because I was getting quite excited, and this hysterical enthusiasm is always present when I put on the Aperio headphones and fire up some music. It always drags me in, and it's really hard to stop a music listening session. I'm not listening to music now as I speak to you. I've just got the headphones on just so you can see how they look, and when they are held in the hand, I'm not a fetishist with headphones, I don't believe so, but they are really well made pieces of work, fantastically made, beautiful Beretta leather, this injected magnesium. They should feel heavier than they look, and they're light as a feather, almost not a feather, but they are very, very light, and they feel good, and they look the way that they sound: stylish, subtle, understated, and they get out of the way. They look good, but they get out of the way when we're actually listening to the music, for all the reasons that I explained. I guess Warwick Acoustics set themselves a goal and decided they weren't going to allow any compromises in terms of cost and materials and engineering excellence stand in their way. I've based my video response, my impressions, which isn't, I regard, as a review, but simply a set of impressions, It's not based on measurements, it's not based on graphs and charts, and I've got nothing against measurements and graphs and charts and scientific information which can either explain or qualify or illustrate why something is being said or why something is being experienced musically the way it is. My experience here is purely subjective. I have tried to be as accurate as possible, and the background to me even having these things, a pair of headphones and equipment, DAC amplifier that I couldn't ever afford to buy at 36 plus thousand euro. It's out of my price range, and it doesn't matter. I don't have to own something to appreciate it. And I'm very grateful to Martin of Warwick Acoustics for helping make this possible, me to spend a couple of weeks with this setup, and to Carsten of Audiodomain, who works together with his company Warwick Acoustics to sell and trade the Warwick Acoustics equipment. I'm not paid to do this. I've got no kickbacks. I love music and I love listening to recorded music, and the things that I buy, I enjoy sharing my experiences with them, and that's really the motivation for this video. And so I would say thank you for your time in taking a look at my experiences with the Aperio Warwick Acoustics system, and happy music listening. Thank you.